G'day, H. Mahar here. You still really loving that person with BPD? You might have been ghosted, discarded, you might have recycled many, many times with a person with borderline personality disorder. You might have been married, or you might be married to somebody with BPD, whether you're a female or a male, right? And you may well have a family and have children, and the stakes are so high, and the pain is just palpably everywhere. And no matter how hard you try to make things better, the person with BPD wants no part of it, has like really little to no ability to help in any way or realize even what the problems might be. And there are so many that people with BPD, maybe patterns of BPD, maybe not diagnosed, people that have been diagnosed and really just don't want any treatment or any help. And yet, you might be one of those people out there with codependency and you're just determined to keep loving this person. And let me just say, I saw something online recently that was almost basically intimating or actually saying that you can actually love a person with BPD right out of that BPD. No, I don't think so. Never heard of that. But I think a lot of people might sort of in an unconscious way be wondering about that. Like maybe not really thinking that, but wondering if somehow that just won't be the end result, right? Maybe you still think this person with BPD is your soulmate. They're not. Love isn't something that needs to be self-sacrificed and self-abandoning and bought for. And these unhealthy bonds and the cognitive dissonance, and they're not really loving you and they're not really attaching to you, but you may well feel like they did or they do love you. So you're still loving this person with BPD, maybe through thick and thin and all kinds of incredible stuff and pain and betrayal, and they're using you and taking advantage of you and trying to seek identity and have you meet all through you and have you meet all their needs. A lot of people are really stuck in these really compelling, difficult situations where even when they know in their head, maybe this isn't good for me, maybe I really do need to get out of this relationship, or they start to take an inventory of sorts, like this person has done this, that. I've had this ruin in my life, that ruin in my life. I can't trust myself anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. But I just can't be without this person. I just love this person because the way that they were in the beginning, that was just like, I'm sure it was magical. It is magical because it isn't real, but it feels so darn good. I swear this chair is trying to kill my back. It feels so darn good that you just keep on keeping on, keep on getting hurt, decimated, maybe ghosted, discarded, then coming back, recycling, going around again. Or maybe you're grappling with somebody with BPD who's not really a ghosting type person or discarder, but they're more clingy and they're more needy. And the risks are really high because a lot of people are afraid to leave somebody like that because maybe they don't really want to be here or they'll threaten that. And what are you going to do? So you're still loving this person with BPD. And as I've talked about on this channel before, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, really ask yourself, journal it, write it down. You're loving this person with BPD. Who are you loving? Who are they? Because they're not who you thought they were. And they're not really ever going to be that person. Because at best, what might have happened in idealization and that honeymoon phase is that that you saw, and for people really in the grand scheme of these relationships, minuscule amount of time, you saw but a fragment of who that person might really otherwise be if they knew who they were. If they didn't have emotional arrested development, if they didn't have borderline personality disorder, if they didn't have this relational disorder, which BPD is. if they didn't have all that childhood adverse experience, if, if, but if you're still loving them, like actively wanting and seeking them to actually love you back and to get back to that wonderful beginning, which really turned out to not be what you thought that was. But, it's hard for people to emotionally deal with that or let go of that, because it can be happening even in your unconscious. You're like really wanting that feeling back, really wanting that person back, even though you might know in your mind, and that doesn't make any sense, your feelings could be really still in kind of attuned to that and pursuing that. And so all this loving the person with BPD, all this giving, overgiving, caretaking, rescuing, trying to fix, trying to change. You're going to therapy, they're going to therapy, you try couples therapy. I never recommend that, by the way. People should not be in couples therapy with somebody who hasn't been well treated for BPD successfully. It's not going to work. And yet people make these last-ditch efforts, but over and over again. So the thing is, you don't even know who this person is. And yeah, that might sound crazy, right? Well, what do you mean I don't know who they are? I know the name, they're right in front of me. Might be the mother or father of your children. Like, I've known this person since I was 12 and we grew up together. What do you mean I don't know who this is? Well, if you think about it, right? Whoever they were in that initial idealization, beginning of the relationship, which is when these relationships begin, they're always starting to end, because there's this unconscious setup between people with BPD and codependents. And neither is consciously aware of what's going to happen. And even people with BPD who've had several other relationships, and the relational ruptures and ghosting, discarding, being broken up with, but nothing ever working out, they just kind of leave it behind on a big stockpile of pain, agony, and lack of self-awareness, and go on to the next, and the next, and the next. And some people have longer-term relationships with untreated BPD or undiagnosed BPD. They do. But like, how do they work, and what are they like? And then, if you have children together, and wow, it's just terrible what happens to a lot of those children, that they really need therapy and intervention. Some go on to get BPD, some get NPD. Many end up with like really painful codependency. And nobody means to bring a child into an unfolding, falling apart disaster. And then people with codependency people with BPD don't know how to let go, but they don't deal with things that way. They just go forward. They just, devalue, discard, ghost. You're out of sight, you're out of mind. They may feel differently at different times, but they don't know what else to do, so they're just gone. Because they were never really there, like they were never attached. They don't know how to love. So you're still loving this person with BPD. You may be fighting for your kids, you're fighting for your family. You never thought you'd ever have to get divorced. You don't want to get divorced for all kinds of reasons. And yet, it might be right on your doorstep. And you might be like, well, maybe I'll try harder. And if he or she gets therapy, then we won't have to get divorced. That's really not anything to hang your hat on, That's still the false hope of it all. And so really in this video, I just wanted to drive home the point. Have you ever asked yourself, who am I really loving? Obviously, you know the name. You know what they look like. You quote, know this person, but you don't really know who they are. And to various degrees, people more affected severely with BPD that act out and really hurt people in ways that some with BPD might not ever or at all, but yet they have their other ways that they will hurt you or betray you or both and then some. Well, so many people, that love, that initial feeling is way huger and still ever present in your reality, but maybe not in your conscious awareness right now. Because you know, maybe by now, a lot of people are coming new to this all the time, but you likely know by now that this person isn't the way that they seemed at the beginning. But how do you think it is that you still keep loving them, maybe trying to rescue, caretake, fix, etc., for whatever your reasons are, and all the false hope that goes with those reasons, and maybe even a sense of desperation? Well, it's multi-layered, right? But you are still wanting the person back that they aren't. And moreover, in a really unconscious way, people with codependency, with the family of origin issues and the wounded inner child, are experiencing through the chaos and the torment and the losing yourself more and the agony and the drama of trying to love this person who you don't even know who they are, and they don't know who they are, and they don't see you, and they don't love you, and they don't attach to you, because you're in pursuit of something you didn't get from a parent. This is highly correlated. These patterns play out in these relationships between people with BPD and codependency. The borderline repetition compulsion cycle pattern plays out and destroys relationships, and often almost destroys the person trying to love and caretake for the person with BPD. And these repetition compulsion cycles of woundedness in family of origin in childhood somewhere, not to the same degree as people with BPD, for people with codependency, well, you keep externalizing out in a repetition compulsion cycle way that you may know something about right now, but you may not have been aware of, and you keep abandoning yourself and putting your needs second, or not even worrying about your needs anymore. Why? Because this is what happened to you to one degree or another, one way or another, in your childhood. So, have you ever stopped to ask yourself lately, in whatever iteration of all this you're in, or limbo, on-off, recycling, breakup, discarded, I really want them back, or knowing in your head you can't do this anymore, but you still have all the cognitive dissonance, lack of closure, pain and agony to work on. I'm out here to work with people who want to get help to heal and recover from the relationship, family of origin, woundedness, and codependency, and anything else involved in people's lives. Then they need to heal and change, and the finding of yourself and creating a healthy relationship to and with yourself, because you actually really don't even know the person that you're so in love with. And I use air quotes not to say that many people aren't still feeling in love with that person with BPD. But who are you in love with? Who are you loving? Well, they're using you, taking advantage of you, unconsciously seeking identity through you, often betraying, sometimes even cheating. Why is it that people with codependency, have you ever asked yourself this question if it resonates with you, seem to be so okay with endlessly being taken advantage of, and having all that you give and overgive and offer and do and caretake, and all the kindness that you show and the love you give and the care you try, just thrown back in your face? What is it about codependency that makes people keep staying there? And people with BPD really hurting you in so many ways, and that's their responsibility, though they may never be able to take it. But your responsibility now is to realize that there's a loss waiting for your acknowledgement in whatever iteration of this you're in, and that you need to get help to work through this. And if I resonate with you, I'm out here to work with you, but I don't resonate with everybody, obviously. But whoever you would choose to work with, you really need to get into that healing recovery process now, because you deserve nothing less. And so continuing to be in codependent denial, continuing to have this false hope that somehow it's going to change and it really will work out, and they one day really will love you, and one day maybe they'll really be who you thought they were. No. It's just the agony of false hope and codependent avoidance of that agony and that pain, and not knowing how to face loss either often. So I hope that maybe this was helpful, gave you food for thought. So I'd really like you to ask yourself today, if you never have before, if you're in recycling, you know, reverse Hoovers, you know, you got ghosted, discard, you're just not done, you know, and nobody feels done, by the way, when clients come to work with me, they're not over anything. Even if they know in their head they can't go back, it's still a risky proposition. Because I've seen clients say, I've worked with lots of clients over the years that will be like, I know I can't go back. There's no way. But like it happens again, you know? Because the feelings are really driving from codependency and the woundedness that it really is, so much false hope. And you trying to meet your needs with this person by helping and rescuing and fixing this person. So hopefully they'll start seeing you and hearing you and actually loving you and caring about you. It's so painful. But yeah, if you're still loving that person with BPD, who are you actually loving?